Well, hey there, Elevate friends and family. It's Mark Pomery here, welcoming you to this week's Elevate Church online experience. Fantastic to have you here, especially those of you joining us for the very first time. Make sure you like and subscribe and do all those things because we want to make sure you get to be reminded we are here every single week with a brand new, hope-filled, fresh online experience. Speaking of fresh, we like to worship together every week, and this week we have a worship partner, and he's pretty fresh. His name's Stephen Malcolm. He's one of our newer worship partners, and today he's actually going to lead us in two songs that are absolutely fresh. First time we've ever had him share these two songs with us in our online experience. So they might be brand new to you. The words are going to be on the screen, so let's worship together.
My God took nothing, turn it into something. Take a look and see how we craft a masterpiece. This kind of loving ain't none above it. My God takes nothing, turns it into something. Ay, I got a cousin about to be 1 year sober. Addiction had him gripped, almost dipped into that coma. Left empty as that bottle, broken past to deal with. Trying to numb the pain, PTSD, I feel it. Ay, I know a shorty 16 and she pregnant. Told me life was over and her parents don't accept it. Thinking about abortion, crying tears as she spoke. I told her God got her back and that baby gon' be hope. Yeah. Cause my God turns nothing into something, yeah. Ain't no mountain too high, ain't no valley too low. Ain't no one that's too far, anywhere him I go. My God took nothing, turned it into something. Take a look and see how we craft a masterpiece. This kind of loving ain't none above it. My God takes nothing, turns it into something, yeah. Got a lot up on my mind and that's including suicide. Little man feeling this way, pain buried deep inside. What to do when mental health is at an all-time low. My bros I've been feeling lately, death been knocking at his front door. He won't let it back in, I got woes that slung dope. Now they give the black hope, they wait to see miracles. I tell them just look around, stories of the broken, that's that new heaven sound. Yeah, and let the church sing, let the church praise. And anybody that has invaded the glory of the Lord, stand up and praise and say, my God took nothing, turn it into something. Take a look and see how we craft a masterpiece. This kind of loving ain't none above it. My God takes nothing, turns it into something. My God took nothing, turn it into something. Take a look and see how we craft a masterpiece. This kind of loving ain't none above it. My God takes nothing, turns it into something. Yeah, my God took nothing, turn it into something. Take a look and see how we craft a masterpiece. This kind of loving ain't none above it. My God took nothing, turn it into something. Check, 1, 2, CCLI. My name is Stephen Malcolm from the mighty Midwest. My DJ on the ones and twos, the bad guy. All glory to God, yeah. We serve a God that will never let us down. He will never let us go. Ayy, yeah. Drag my name through the mud, ain't the same that I was. Bet they still gon' judge, buddy. I've been covered by the blood, I've been killing what I should, still serving in my hood, yeah, been popping is crazy, I don't deserve it, lifestyle of the young and way, came from a broken home, daddy was never there, wanted mama to abort the baby. Yeah, substance abuse in my family tree hung around too often. Picked up the sins of my parents like I was bound to fall in. Got a lot of weight on my plate, but hey, it come with the calling. And I've been jumping through these rings trying to go supersonic. How ironic, my name is Truth, now I live it, and my life's a studio visit. Heaven sent mission, what a pivot. Freddie T on my P's and Q's, living proof he can use whatever he wantin'. Back again like what's happening, and I'm at the grave like my name Lazarus. New life with a clean slate, no debate when he cast the net. Many times I went AWOL and could've left me all in my messy, but he picked me up when I was at my lowest, raised me up and then blessed me, yeah. Ayy, clean me up and renew me, you the one, we the two-piece, see the sun, and he never let me go, yeah. Clean me up and renew me, you the one, we the two-piece, see the sun, and he never let me go, through the pain and struggle. Never let me go when I fall and fumble. Never let me go when I trip and fall short. Never let me go, though I'm a wretch of some sort. Never let me go, never let me go. You stood in the way, took the burden off my plate. Never let me go, I just had to grow. Bloody and stained was the lover of my soul, yeah. Holiest Heavenly Father, report for my DNA, call it a calling. Not only the author been writing my way through the calling and placing it at the altar. That big faith take little faith. Wonder why I got no breaks. I push glory for a king that became a man just so I can save face. Ay, clean me up and renew me. You the one, we the two-piece. See the sun and he never let me go, yeah. Clean me up and renew me. You the one, we the two-piece. See the sun and he never let me go through the pain and struggle. Never let me go when I fall and fumble. Never let me go when I trip and fall short. Never let me go, though I'm a wretch of some sort. Never let me go. He will never let me go. Never let me down. Yeah, we serve a God who will never let me go. Never let me down. Yeah.
Hey, so I'm pretty confident that all of us, or nearly all of us, when we were young, played hide and seek. You know, it's a game you can play anywhere. You don't need any equipment. Everyone can get involved. You know, like one person or several people go off and hide, and the person that's it has to wait, count to something, 60. Then yell out, declare, ready or not, here I come. And it's game on. And, you know, when you're very, very young, you kind of younger kids assume that if they can't see you, then clearly you can't see them. You know, like this little guy right here hiding in plain sight. But then as you get older, you get better and the places you start to hide get more sophisticated. The lengths you'll go to not be found get more complicated. And here's what I've noticed. Whilst we might not, as we grow older again, we might not play like that version of hide and seek, my observation is people still like to play hide and seek, particularly when it comes to God. And many people really don't want God to find them. You know, maybe someone that's developed like some destructive behaviors and they feel if God catches them, then he's going to judge them. You know, maybe the person who's destroyed a relationship or some relationships and they feel if God catches them, he's going to punish them to get even. Maybe just the person that's been aimlessly pursuing things that our culture say are fine, you know, pleasure and selfishness and greed. And if God catches you, then he's going to shame you for living such a low altitude life. But look, here's what I like to tell people. God is absolutely out to get you. He's actually out to get you forgiven. He's out to get you healed. He's out to get you restored. And he's ultimately, beyond that, he's out to get you lined up to pursuing the great plans and purposes he has for your life. But this idea of God's seeking us, he's out to get us, well, that's either bad news or good news, depending on what type of God you think he is. Because look, if he is not good news, then him finding you, of course, isn't good news because he's going to make life worse for you. So if he's not good, finding you is not good news. So I absolutely encourage you to run and hide and hope he never finds you. But on the other hand, if God is good, if he's merciful, if he's compassionate, then finding you, I would say, is very good news. And my encouragement to you, if God is good, not only stop running from him, but start running to him. Now, we're in this series we began a few weeks ago called God Is God does. We're looking at some of the unique names that God revealed about himself that point to his nature and his character. And then out of who he is, there's this revelation of what he does, what he's capable of, what he wants to do more of. And week one, we looked at this slice in history very early on where God revealed himself to Abraham as Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, that God sees what we need in advance because he can see it, he can send it. Week two, we looked at the name that God revealed to himself as Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals, that he can take and transform bitter into better in every area and aspect of our lives. So I encourage you, if you missed either of those first 2 weeks, I've been saying to our church here live in Perth, this is like foundational stuff. This is like Bible 101 stuff. You need to get this stuff in the bedrock of your faith in order to be able to allow God to be these things in your life and ultimately to do these things in and through your life. So go back and watch the first two or jump on our podcast, Elevate Church Perth, in any of the podcast apps, and we'll be there. All right, today I want to continue this series, week 3, with another of the names of God that he revealed about himself that actually gets a lot less airplay than the first two and the one that we're going to talk about next week. So if you've got your smartphone camera, scan this flow code. It's going to take you right back to the early part of the Bible, the first book, Genesis, chapter 16. While you're doing that, let me give you some context. We're going to land on the key character today, and her name is Hagar. She was a servant to Abraham and Sarah. I'll talk a bit more about that later. We're going to drop into a slice of her life, and then we're going to kind of work backwards. We're going to drop into a slice of Hagar's life where things were a mess. And in fact, things had gotten so bad for her that she ran away from things. Probably she was even on the run, hiding from God. We're going to find her sitting beside a tree in the middle of nowhere. We're going to find that she's pregnant. We're going to find that she's alone. We're going to find she's got no food. Like, it's desperate times for Hagar. She's vulnerable and evidently feeling a little bit invisible in the midst of her circumstances. Now, I'm going to come back to that and explain how things got this bad. But right when she's sitting next to that tree, alone and vulnerable and pregnant in the middle of nowhere, the angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a spring of water in the wilderness. And thereafter, Hagar used another name to refer to the Lord who had spoken to her. And she said, "You are the God who sees me." So Hagar, she is at the end of her rope. It's like she's run out of options. And in this instance, we discover that God sees you where you are. And she was so astonished by this that she gave God, or kind of reveals this aspect of God. And the word in the original language is El Roy, the God who sees me. Now, in the first 2 weeks, the names of God started with a very personal name, Jehovah or Yahweh. And it was also a name that was kind of unique to the Israelites or the Jewish people. Now, Hagar used the name El, which was more of a generic name. And look, she actually isn't an Israelite. She's actually of Egyptian descent. So it just simply could be that she only knew. She might have even not have known about the God Yahweh. Anyway, that's not the main point today, but just in case you were confused, the main point is that God is Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides. He is Jehovah Rapha, the God who heals. And he is El Roi, the God who sees you. He sees your struggles. He sees the issues you're facing. He sees the people that are coming against you and making your life a living hell. And he sees your value. He sees the way forward. He sees your victory. He sees what's on the way for you, and he sees what's ahead for you. He sees the difference that you can ultimately make with him working in and through your life. El Roi, the God who sees you. Now, it's 2025, and you've probably noticed that digital tracking is increasingly a thing. And hey, to be honest, I've got mixed feelings. It's pretty well established that unless you dive deep into your settings, that your smartphone is listening to you. And well, not your phone, but some of the apps on it are listening. You know, recently we had a conversation in an Elevate group about wooden flooring and finishing and polishing and clear coating wooden flooring. Don't ask me why, it's a long story. But the point is, the very next day, one of the people in that Elevate group, he sent me the screenshot, had an ad pop up in the Google about floor finishing and how you can get a deal here in Perth. Right. Creepy. Then we've got AirTags, like they're increasingly a thing. You know, you can put an AirTag in your wallet, so in case you lose your wallet, you can hopefully find it and its contents. You can attach an AirTag to your bicycle, and that's a whole thing. You can put an AirTag on your pet's collar. That's a thing. Apparently, you can even put an AirTag on your kids, and I'll leave that to you to think about. And I think one of the key use cases that I'm most excited about is you can put them in your luggage. And airlines are now working with Apple and the AirTag to kind of track your luggage together. So maybe, just maybe, lost luggage will be a thing of the past. Well, God tracks us. And again, that might be terrifying news if you think God is not good. Like, I don't want him knowing my business, where I am, what I'm doing wrong. Or if you believe God is good, then knowing that he tracks us is actually good. So we read that the angel of the Lord found Hagar beside a spring of water in the wilderness along the road to Shur, and the angel said to her, Hagar, Sarai's servant, where have you come from and where are you going? Well, I'm running away from my mistress, Sarai, she replied. But God found her, and God knew her name. She didn't even have to volunteer that. God saw her in her vulnerable state, and that's where he met her. And then he asked her a couple of questions. Where have you come from and where are you going? Not because he didn't know, but he wanted Hagar to really take stock of her life in that moment. Not just physically, where have you come from and where are you going? Geographically, where have you come from? Where are you going? But how did your life bring you to this point, and where do you want your life to go from this point? And I think God often asks us that question, particularly when we're at our end of the rope. And if he's good and we answer that question honestly, he wants to take our current situation and he wants to move things forward towards his plans and his purposes in and through our lives. Now, I promised I'd come back to why Hagar was hiding and why she'd run away from her mistress. Mistress like master, mistress. Yeah, got it. Okay, good. Well, the fact of the matter is that if a camera had been following Hagar in recent times for the purposes of a reality TV show, probably you would have called that TV show something like Hot Mess TV, because it makes Love Island look like a kids program. So the other two key characters in this chapter of Hagar's life were Abram, or he's Abraham. We talked about him in week 1 of this series, and Sarai, who became Sarah, and she was also a key character in week 1. And as we talked about in week 1, God had made Abraham a promise that he would become the father of many nations. In fact, literally, God said, I will make your descendants as numerous as the sand on the seashores. Which is like, wow, that's a lot of descendants. The problem was Abraham and Sarah were not able to have kids, and they started getting really old. And after 10 years of waiting, after God promised Abraham he'd become the father of many nations, Sarah, she had a brilliant idea. She said to Abraham, okay, I think I've come up with a solution after 10 years of waiting and nothing's happened. How about you sleep with Hagar, my servant, and get her pregnant, and then when she has a baby, that's it. Hey, presto, like that's going to be the fulfillment of God's promise. And yes, of course, like you're wondering, what could possibly go wrong? Well, first of all, it is important to understand that in that culture, that was actually a thing, like a done thing, like a mostly socially acceptable thing. So overall, it shouldn't have been a problem, but it was a problem for Abraham and Sarah because they chose to substitute what their culture said was permissible in place of what God had promised. They opted for doing things the way their culture did things instead of allowing God to do things the way he wanted to do them in his timing. So, fast forward, Abraham sleeps with Hagar, she gets pregnant. Now, Hagar, after a few months, she starts walking around like, hey, to Sarah, hey, who's pregnant now? Hot Mess TV. When Sarah said to Abraham, this is all your fault, which, just a reminder, Sarah, this was actually your idea. I put my servant into your arms. Yes, you did. But now that she's pregnant, she treats me with contempt. Well, the Lord will show you who's wrong, you or me. Wow. Abraham replied, look, don't get me involved in this. She's your servant. Just you deal with her as you see fit. This was your idea to begin with. You fix it. Well, Sarai treated Hagar so harshly that Hagar finally ran away. So that's why at the beginning we found Hagar alone in the middle of nowhere, pregnant, vulnerable. But Hagar had actually done nothing wrong. Because again, in that culture, for her to have made herself available to Abraham to sleep with her and get her pregnant and then deliver a baby was completely acceptable. But for that, she had now been used and abused. All because Abraham and Sarah tried to shortcut God's promise and God's blessing. let me show you just really quickly what that looks like a compare and contrast. Let me just start with like key components for blessing. And just for the record, this is not a formula or a recipe. I'm not that guy. Do these three things and, out pops a thing. But like these are the key components that are pretty much requisites if we want to live in and with God's blessing. It starts with God's promise. Like, what has God actually said he's going to do? In response to that, what's he requiring of us? And, our obedience matters. And then ultimately, God's timing, like it'll happen when he says it'll happen. So that's like, write those three things down and major on them. But the key components for a hot mess, well, there's still God's promise right at the beginning, but then there's this, our shortcuts. Our shortcuts, well, they may seem better in the short term, but my experience and observation is they almost always end up requiring us to go the long way round if we ever arrive with God's promise in our life and God's blessing materializing at all. Secondly, understand that when you or I start to take shortcuts, we're actually doing God's job for him. Like we're kind of saying, hey, you're taking too long. Have you fallen asleep at the wheel? Have you forgotten about this or forgotten about me? And so you decide, well, at the least I'm going to kind of give God a hand. I'm going to move this thing along. I'm going to force this issue into reality. But when you do that, you might get some positive results, but what you end up with is you-sized results. Not God-sized results. You-shaped results, not God-shaped results. Ultimately, you miss out on the miracle and you only end up living with stuff that you can kind of make happen yourself. I've seen this happen in relationships. Like this is kind of one of the things. I've seen it happen in a lot of things: money handling, job seeking, business development, marriage. But what about dating? This person that's single, which incidentally, that's like a calling and a gift that some people have, and it's brilliant. And don't think that God's kind of like overlooked you if that's you, but like if maybe you're thinking, I feel like I'm meant to kind of get into a relationship. And you start off with the list, the criteria. I want him to be a Jesus follower, someone of strong character. And so you wait for years for God to bring you Mr. Right. But as you wait, you start to get more desperate. And one of the things in life to realize is that as desperation goes up, standards go down. And so I've seen people, well, I was looking for Mr. Right, but, now I'm looking for Mr. Could Be Worse. Like my criteria was a Jesus follower of good character. Now I'll just settle for someone who's got a pulse. Well, time and again, I've seen people discover that this is just a recipe for a hot mess. The good news is God sees you and he wants to lead you into better. So the angel of the Lord said to Hagar, return to your mistress and submit to her authority. Wait, what? Then he added, the angel of the Lord, I will give you more descendants than you can count. So literally what we see here is a challenge and a promise. And the challenge was for Hagar to go back to the hard place. And this is one of the things a lot of people misunderstand or make the mistake of thinking that God's blessing isn't found in the hard place, that somehow God's blessing looks like tapping out of the hard place, or getting airdropped out of the hard place, or beam me up Scotty out of the hard place. And yet sometimes God sends us back to the hard place, or tells us to stay in the hard place. Stay in the hard job. Trust that I'm going to do something in you and through you in that place. Stay in the hard family dynamic. Trust that I'm going to work in that place. That you're going to learn about obedience. You're going to learn about my presence, my power. You're going to learn to rely on me and my strength. You're going to grow in courage and capacity and resilience if you don't tap out of the hard place until I say it's time to tap out of the hard place. And God pointed to this idea that, Hagar, if you go back to the hard place and you stay there, there's a promise that's even greater than you could ask for or imagine. Chances are some of you are in the hard place right now, and I just want to encourage you to know that God sees you. He sees you when you're praying for the child that's running with the wrong crowd. He sees you when you're applying for job after job after job and your bank balance is going down. He sees you when critics start smearing your name even though you're doing the right things. He sees you when you're working hard to break the patterns of addiction and abuse and poverty and fear and anger, and it's hard, and you're tempted to go back and to default and to just say it's not worth it. He sees you putting in the work. He sees you putting in the financial discipline so you can get out of debt and live financially free. He sees you trying to be the parent that you never had. He sees you showing up to the job you don't like so you can provide for your family. He sees you. He is El Roy. He sees you, and I want you to know the promise is still on the way. He hasn't forgotten. He's not asleep at the wheel. He hasn't changed his mind. You're not invisible. El Roy, the God who sees you in his timing, will come through with exactly what he's promised. Hey, in case you missed it, we have an app, the Elevate Church AU app, and you can scan this flow code and it will take you automatically to your Apple or Google store, depending on your device and platform. And we're just seeing more and more people download this, start using it. It's got some great features, message notes from the messages every single week, so you can follow along or you can review some inspirational stories. You can actually even watch our online experience from in our app, and we'll get the podcast, etc., etc., etc. And you can even give through our app using a credit card or a debit card, and we're seeing more and more people do that to allow us to continue to reach more people and build more people all around the world, people just like you. So get on that, and I know it'll be a tremendous blessing to you. All right. Next week, we are going to land this series, fourth and final week of our series, God Is, God Does, with another of the unique names that God revealed about himself. So I'd love to see you back here. I'd love to encourage you to have a watch party, invite someone, share this with them. Hey, check this out. All the things. We'll see you back here next